In this assignment, I'm going to show you how to create a roof for your BenJim house. Referring back to your packet, scroll beyond the floor plan and look at the elevations. Our house is a T-shape with open gables on each of the ends, so on the right and left hand side and the bottom edge. You'll notice in the elevations that the gable is open here and closed where the angle comes down. In the open parts, you'll notice that there's a measurement here from the edge of the wall to the open gable roof edge of 12 inches. If you continue to scroll down, you'll also notice that there is a measurement from the edge of the wall on the sloped side of the roof. That's 2 feet. So what that means is that anywhere that the roof slopes down and hits the edge of the house, it will have a 2-foot overhang. But where the open gable areas are, will only have a 1-foot overhang. So when we go to create our roof, we're going to keep that in mind. To start our roof, we're going to group our house. To do that, we're going to triple click the outer walls, right click, and say Make Group. This furniture here that I have is already grouped, so anything that I draw on top is not going to stick to it. But if you have a situation where you've maybe added something that will touch this top surface of the walls, make sure that those are grouped too. So while those walls are grouped, I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going from the outer edge of the wall, and I'm going to click and bring that across to the other outer edge of the wall. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom T shape. So from the outer edge corner to the other outer edge corner. And you'll see that there's a line here. So I'm going to just delete that. Now I'm going to triple click this to select it. And I'm going to use the move tool to move it off of the house. And I'm just going to slide it over. It should all come off as long as your walls of your main BenJim house are grouped. Now I'm going to go back to the group and I'm going to right click and I'm just going to say explode to bring it back to the way that I needed it to be to continue to work on it. And this is a good idea just because that way you don't have to be in edit mode. So here is basically the profile of our roof. As I mentioned, the end gables are open. So we're going to leave those alone for right now, but we need to add 2 feet to these corner edges and the back corner where the roof slopes down. To do that, I'm going to take my tape measure tool and I'm going to pull out again on the green 2 feet. I'm going to type in 2 feet and I'm going to do the same on the bottom edge of the T and also on either of the sides of the T. So I'm just pulling guidelines out 2 feet, making sure that I am doing that on the red and green axes. Now I'm going to take my pencil tool and I'm going to draw again along the red and green axes to where these intersect. Now I can also use inferencing here. If I zoom in, sometimes it'll be very faint, or I could just draw the line, hit escape, and then continue that where it intersects along the green axes, and then just delete the part I don't need. And I'm going to do that here too. I'm going to come across to here, go to this middle line. Again, you can see that it's snapping to the red and green. Now this is giving me a little axes, or I'm using inferencing here, so I'm going to end it here and bring it right across, and I can check. As I do this, I can check and see whether that inferencing is working. If it doesn't work, don't use it. It could mean that something is wrong with your model. Here you can see it, it's very faint. And you have to really watch that things line up. Okay, so now I'm going to delete these inner lines because this is my overhang. Now, my roof has a thickness. Roofs do not come down to a point, and you can see that here that there is a little bit of an edge on the roof. This is typically the fascia, and it covers the opening of the rafters. So I'm going to pull this shape up 6 inches. I'm just going to pull that up, select the top, and type in 6 inches. So that's 6 quotes. And now I'm going to make the ridge lines for the roof. So I'm going to take my pencil tool and I'm going to mouse over this edge until it snaps to cyan, which tells me that I'm in the middle of that line. And I'm just going to pull that line across, and you'll see that it snaps to the midpoint. And I'm going to click again to make that line. And I'm going to do the same thing here, mouse along the edge, let it snap to cyan, which tells me it's in the middle of that edge. And I'm going to bring that line, but I'm not going to bring it across. I'm going to bring it right to the middle here. And the reason is that this part of the roof slopes down, and so that it would not go all the way across. Now I have to connect these corners, because if I try to pull this up without doing this, the folds, if you will, like in origami, wouldn't work. And so here you can kind of see that this mimics the roof plan, which is down here, of our BenJim house. So now I'm going to select the ridge lines. So that would be the line on the left, the line on the right, and then this middle line. And I'm going to use the move tool, or shortcut M, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to type in 4 feet. And here you can see we have the makings of the roof, but it's not really done yet because there's some detail here that's missing. I'm going to place this onto the house, but before I do that, I'm going to group this. I'm going to triple click everything, making sure that I get the underside as well. Right click and make it a group. The reason I'm doing this is so that when I put it back on the house, it will not stick to the house, and I will also be able to make a tag so that I can turn this roof on and off. First, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to align this so that I put it on the house correctly. So I'm going to go into edit mode of the group. So I'm going to double click, and I'm going to pull a guideline from the corner of this edge. So remember, when you're pulling a guideline and you want it to be straight, you have to be on edge in order to do that. So I'm going to pull this straight across on the red, and I'm going to type in 2 feet, because you remember that's what our overhang was. And now I'm going to close the group. Before I move this though, I'm going to make a layer that this roof will sit on. So I'm going to go to Window, and I'm going to open up Tags, and I'm going to click the plus button to make a new tag. So this little plus and minus button will let you delete and add tags. So I'm going to click the plus button, and I'm going to call this tag roof. And now I'm going to open Entity Info, which is here, and I'm going to select my roof. And you can see that it falls under untagged. So right now it's on this tag, the untagged layer, and you can see that the little pencil is there. So that's kind of gives you a little hint between these 3 things on which tag an item is on. And now, because I made the tag in the tag window for the roof, I'm going to click the drop down box, and I'm going to scroll down until I get roof. I don't have to do anything beyond that, but I can double check now with the eyeball by turning it on and off whether or not my roof is on that tag. So I can close the entity info box now. So I included this guideline at the 2-foot mark. I need a point which I can use to line it up to the edge of the house here. I've used the move tool. I'm going to click here in the corner, and I'm going to move this roof right onto the house like that. We haven't pulled this part out the 1 foot yet, but you can see that we have the 2-foot overhang on all the edges that are sloped. So I'm going to go into edit mode, triple click inside the roof, and I'm going to pull another guideline 2 feet here, because if you look at the example in the elevation of the roof, you can see that this is a closed overhang. In order to make that, I need to add another 2-foot guideline on the left-hand side. So make sure you go to the edge, zoom in, grab the edge, pull along the red and type in 2 feet. And now I'm going to pull another guideline so that it meets this corner here. And to do that, I'm going to click from the rooftop and I'm going to use inferencing and have it snap right to that bottom edge so that I know that that's, if I drew a straight line from the ridge line, it would meet down there. And here you can sort of see where it would be boxed. So now I'm going to draw this in and I'm going to use my pencil tool and I'm going to follow those guidelines. And I've effectively cut this now so that the design matches what's being shown in the drawings. Now I'm going to pull my roof out away from the edge of the wall 1 foot. So I'm going to use the push-pull tool and I'm just going to pull this out 1 foot or 12 inches. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to do that to all of the open parts of the roof. Remember to use inferencing when you're pulling the guidelines from the sloped part of the roof. The shortcut for push-pull is P. And pull this out 12 inches or 1 foot. Now I'm going to clean up everything. It's important to keep your models clean. You don't want to have too many guidelines going all over the place, especially if you don't need them. So try to keep your models as clean as you can. So here's our roof. In the next video, we're going to talk about adding textures to your roof and also to the exterior of your building and the interior.